The bar was alive with music and chatter. But for Elena, everything froze when Vito Romano walked in. White, ruthless, untouchable. One look from him, and the room held its breath. Then she said it. "My mom, she has a ring just like yours." The bar went silent. Marco froze. Vito's eyes narrowed. One sentence had changed everything, and now danger was closer than ever. What will happen next? Stick around to see the shocking truth unfold, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You won't want to miss this. The bar was buzzing with life, music, laughter, the clink of glasses. But for Elena, everything else seemed to fade. Her hands trembled as she carried a tray toward the table where Vito Romano sat. He wasn't just any man. White, ruthless, legendary. His reputation alone could freeze an entire room. Tonight, though, his eyes were fixed on her, calculating, intense, like he could see straight through her. Elena swallowed hard, adjusting her apron. She had served him countless times, smiled politely, even laughed at his jokes. But tonight, something felt different. Tension prickled in the air, and Marco, the bartender, shot her a warning glance. "Be careful." Then, without thinking, the words slipped out. "My mom, she has a ring just like yours." The bar froze. Conversation stopped mid-laugh. Even the music seemed to falter. Vito's expression shifted. Shock, recognition, something darker lurking behind his eyes. Marco froze behind the bar, hands tightening on the counter. The patrons leaned back, sensing the storm about to erupt. Elena's heart pounded. Rosa's ring had always been just a family keepsake. Until now. Now it was a key, a dangerous connection that could destroy everything. Time stretched. Vito leaned forward, slow and deliberate, his gaze never leaving hers. Every detail screamed power. The polished suit, the glinting gold ring, the red beret perfectly tilted. Elena's mind raced. What does he know? How far will he go? In that frozen moment, she realized the bar was no longer a place of work. It was a stage for secrets, power, and danger. And she was right in the center of it all. What happens next will shock the entire bar and change Elena's life forever. The bar wasn't much, just a dimly lit, slightly crowded space in the middle of the city. But to Elena, it was home. She moved quickly between tables, balancing trays, pouring drinks, and smiling at patrons. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and it gave her a rhythm she could trust. Her mother, Rosa, had always taught her to work hard and keep her head high, and Elena carried that lesson into every shift. Marco, the bartender and her friend, was always nearby, quietly keeping an eye on the regulars and offering a reassuring smile when things got hectic. He had been working at the bar for years, and together, they had formed an unspoken team, moving seamlessly, watching each other's backs. Life was ordinary, predictable, comfortable, until the day Vito Romano walked in. Vito was white, sharp, and commanding. His presence filled the room before he even spoke. Patrons instinctively straightened, the music seemed to dim, and even the bartender's casual movements slowed. He wasn't just a customer. He was a man with power, influence, and a reputation that whispered danger. Elena had seen him before, of course, but tonight he lingered longer, scanning the bar with an intensity that set her nerves on edge. Rosa's old stories about power and secrecy flashed in Elena's mind. "Some people walk in and change everything," her mother had said once, eyes serious. Elena had laughed then, thinking it was just another one of her mother's tales. But now, standing behind the bar, carrying drinks, she felt that weight firsthand. Marco gave her a subtle nod as Vito approached the table, an almost imperceptible warning. There was a tension in the air that hadn't been there before, something unspoken but heavy, like a storm ready to break. Elena didn't yet know why, but she could feel it in the tightening of her chest, the slight tremble in her hands. At home, Rosa's apartment was warm and familiar, the scent of flowers and spices wrapping around Elena like a protective hug. Her mother's ring sat on the dresser, a beautiful gold band she had always admired. It seemed harmless, ordinary, a piece of family history. But Elena didn't yet realize that the ring, that simple heirloom, would soon connect her to a secret capable of shaking the bar, the city, and even her own life. This was the calm before the storm. The ordinary rhythm of life, serving drinks, joking with Marco, sharing quiet evenings with Rosa, was about to collide with a secret that would ignite tension, fear, and suspense. And when it did, everything Elena knew about her world would change. The days after Vito's first visit were nothing like Elena had expected. The bar was still loud, the music still played, and Marco still moved behind the counter with practiced ease. But the atmosphere felt different. There was an unspoken tension, a quiet undercurrent she couldn't shake. Every glance from Vito lingered just a second too long, his eyes sharp and calculating. Patrons who had once joked and chatted freely now seemed to tiptoe, avoiding his gaze as if they feared drawing attention to themselves. Elena's shifts became exercises in careful observation. She noticed subtle things. The way Vito's fingers twitched when she moved too quickly, the almost imperceptible frown when a patron laughed too loudly, the way Marco's hands would tighten slightly around a glass whenever Vito's gaze swept across the bar. Every detail screamed danger, even though nothing had happened. Yet, it started small. Vito would make remarks that seemed casual, almost compliments, but carried a subtle weight. "You've got a sharp eye," he said once as Elena arranged glasses, but the tone hinted at assessment, judgment. "Most people don't notice things like that." Elena smiled politely, but inside, her chest tightened. Was it praise or a warning? She couldn't tell. Then came the whispers. Patrons started to murmur, low enough that she only caught fragments. "She's new," someone said. "Not really part of this place, huh?" Another comment floated past. "Careful what you say around her. Vito notices everything." Marco shot her an apologetic glance, but there was nothing he could do. The murmurs weren't threats, but they were sharp, like tiny blades slicing at her confidence. The tension escalated the night Vito brought a small entourage. Elena had prepared drinks with extra care, but her hands shook anyway. Vito's associates were a mix of smugness and subtle menace, circling the bar, scanning every patron, scrutinizing Elena's movements. One of them leaned casually on the counter, smirking as Elena refilled a glass. "You're very precise," he said. "I like that." But the way he said it wasn't a compliment. It was an observation, a subtle challenge. Marco whispered under his breath. "Watch yourself tonight." Elena nodded, gripping a tray tighter than necessary, trying to mask her nerves. But even with Marco's support, the bar felt like a minefield, each step potentially explosive. Then came the first real test. Elena was carrying a cocktail to Vito when she accidentally brushed against one of his associates. The man's eyes narrowed instantly, and Vito's sharp gaze followed the motion. "Careful," he said smoothly, his voice calm but cutting. The room seemed to freeze. Patrons glanced nervously at the table, the air thick with tension. Elena swallowed hard, apologizing quietly, but the look in Vito's eyes told her it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It wasn't just physical intimidation. Vito had a way of planting subtle doubts, of twisting ordinary moments into psychological pressure. He would ask questions, casual in tone, probing into Elena's family, her background, her mother Rosa, as if testing boundaries. Each question was like a thread, pulling her closer to a secret she hadn't yet realized was dangerous. Every answer she gave felt like a gamble. One misstep could cost more than embarrassment. Back at home, Rosa noticed the change immediately. "Something's different," she said quietly one evening, watching Elena's restless movements. Elena hesitated, then shrugged. "It's nothing," she muttered, but Rosa's eyes were sharp. The mother-daughter bond was subtle but powerful. Rosa could sense tension, danger, and secrets before Elena even spoke. The bar became a stage for subtle confrontations. Vito's visits grew longer, more intense. Patrons shifted in their seats, feeling the invisible pressure radiating from the table. Elena noticed how Marco would adjust his movements, subtly protecting her without drawing attention. Even a spilled drink or a misplaced glass could become a silent challenge in Vito's eyes. And then the moment came that changed everything. A busy Friday night, full of laughter and chatter. Elena was balancing 3 trays when she glanced at Vito's hand, glinting under the bar lights. Her mind raced as she noticed the gold ring, so familiar, so like her mother Rosa's. Words tumbled out before she could stop them. "My mom. She has a ring just like yours." The room froze. Patrons went silent mid-conversation. The music seemed to falter. Marco's hands tightened on the bar. Vito's expression shifted slowly, impossibly deliberate. Shock, recognition. Something darker flickered in his eyes. The associates shifted uneasily, sensing the change, unsure how their boss would react. Elena's heart raced. What had she just done? She hadn't planned this. The slip of words had thrown everything into motion. The calm rhythm of the bar, the safety of her work, the familiar patterns she relied on, all of it shattered in an instant. Vito leaned forward, eyes locking on hers, the glint of his ring catching the dim light. Every patron in the bar felt it, the tension, the danger, the electricity of secrets unearthed. Marco's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. The room was a frozen snapshot of suspense, every character caught in the aftermath of Elena's revelation. That night, as Elena wiped down tables after Vito's departure, she realized the bar had changed. Everything had changed. The whispers, the glances, the tension. It was no longer subtle. It was a storm building waiting to erupt, and she knew deep down that once Vito discovered the truth about Rosa, nothing would ever be the same. Every step forward from here carried risk. Every word could ignite the next confrontation. And Elena understood something frightening yet exhilarating. She was at the center of a story far larger than herself, where courage, secrecy, and survival would collide in ways she hadn't imagined, the calm before the storm was gone. The rising action had reached a fever pitch, and the next move, whether hers or Vito's, would set the stage for a showdown that could shock everyone in the bar. The bar had never felt smaller. Every sound, every creak of the floorboards, every clink of glass was amplified in Elena's chest. She stood near the center, her palms damp, her eyes fixed on Vito Romano. White, sharp, unrelenting, he leaned slightly forward, the glint of his gold ring catching the dim light like a warning. Marco hovered behind the bar, silent but tense, watching every micro-movement. Elena could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The slip of words, the one she had thought harmless, had ignited a chain reaction she could not control. Her mother Rosa's ring wasn't just a family heirloom. It was a secret, one that Vito recognized immediately. His lips twitched into a subtle, dangerous smile, and every nerve in Elena's body screamed that she was standing on the edge of something far bigger than herself. "Your mother," Vito said slowly. Each word deliberate, sharp like a blade, was closer to me than you know. Elena's heart froze. She swallowed, trying to summon calm, but the truth hit her like a tidal wave. Rosa had a past, one intertwined with the most dangerous man in the city. And now, Vito, the very embodiment of power and fear, was staring at her as though assessing whether she was a threat or a tool. Marco's hands trembled slightly on the counter. He had always known Vito was dangerous, but this was different. The bar, once a place of work and community, had transformed into a pressure cooker. Patrons shifted in their seats, sensing the danger, the invisible line that had been crossed. No one moved, no one spoke. The entire room held its collective breath. Vito leaned back slightly, letting his gaze travel over Elena as though weighing every ounce of her courage. "I never expected," he paused, voice low and controlled, "that your family would reach so far." His eyes narrowed, sharp and calculating. "And yet here you are, standing in my bar, revealing secrets that could have remained buried." Elena's mind raced. Fight or flight. She could run, disappear into the night, but she knew it wouldn't end there. Vito wasn't a man who forgot or forgave easily. He was power incarnate, and she had just challenged him, unknowingly, by exposing a part of her mother's past. Taking a deep breath, she raised her chin. Her voice trembled only slightly. "I didn't know." "I didn't mean to," Vito's eyes flashed. "Intentions matter little in my world, Elena. Words have consequences." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, the room tightening around them. "Do you understand what you've done?" The tension became unbearable. Marco's grip on the bar tightened. Even the regular patrons, who had once treated Vito's visits with cautious respect, sensed the dangerous edge in the air. One wrong word, one wrong movement, and chaos could erupt. Elena's thoughts flew to Rosa. Her mother had survived this world once before, had navigated dangerous men, hidden secrets, and protected her family. Could Elena do the same? Could she stand firm, speak truth, and survive the storm she had unleashed? Vito's hand hovered near his ring, the same ring that connected Rosa to him, and now Elena to danger. His eyes locked onto hers, calculating, measuring. And then, with a movement almost imperceptible, he leaned back, a slow, almost teasing smile spreading across his face. "You're bold," he said finally, the words low but loaded with weight. "I'll give you that." Most would have frozen, run, or cried. "But you stand here. You speak. You show courage." Elena blinked, unsure whether relief or fear should hit first. The bar remained silent. Marco exhaled softly behind her, tension easing slightly, though the danger was far from over. Vito's gaze softened just enough to make her stomach twist. "But courage alone doesn't protect you," he continued, voice measured. "It draws attention, it provokes questions, and sometimes it demands answers." The room seemed to shrink further. Every patron could feel the invisible blade hovering over Elena, waiting for a slip, a hesitation, a mistake. Her mind raced. She realized that this was the true test, not just of bravery, but of intelligence, instinct, and self-control. And then it happened. Vito's expression shifted subtly, a signal that the moment had arrived. He leaned in, voice lower, almost intimate. "Tell me about your mother, Elena, everything." Elena's chest tightened. This was it, the turning point. Every lesson from her mother, every ounce of courage she had mustered, came flooding back. She could break down and beg for safety, or she could stand and meet this storm head-on. Her voice shook at first, then grew steadier with each word. She began to tell Vito about Rosa's past, about the connections, the sacrifices, the hidden dangers her mother had faced to protect her family. Every word was a gamble, but it was also a declaration. She would not be a victim. She would not shrink, and she would face the truth. No matter how dangerous. Vito listened, expression unreadable until finally he exhaled slowly. The room held its collective breath. Patrons leaned forward, Marco's hands unclenched slightly, and for the first time in what felt like hours, Elena felt the tension shift. "You've got fire," Vito said quietly, almost approvingly. "It seems some things run in the family." He leaned back fully, a dangerous calm returning to his demeanor. "But remember, the world I live in is not forgiving. Courage can protect you. Sometimes, but only sometimes." Elena let out a shaky breath, the weight on her shoulders lightening slightly. She had faced the most intense moment of her life and survived, not unscathed, but alive, aware, and stronger. The bar exhaled with her, the tension easing but the stakes remaining painfully real. And in that instant, Elena realized something powerful. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was facing it, speaking truth, and standing tall even when the world, or a white mafia boss, threatened to crush you. As Vito's gaze softened ever so slightly, Marco exhaled a quiet sigh of relief, and the patrons began to murmur again. Elena understood that her life, and the lives of those she loved, had changed forever. Secrets had been revealed, danger had been faced, courage had been claimed, and yet the storm was not over. Every action from this moment on would ripple outward. Elena knew it. She could feel it. But she had crossed the threshold. She was no longer just a waitress, a daughter, or a bystander. She was a player in a dangerous game, and now she had the fire to survive it. The bar had held its breath, and the world had shifted. The question lingered in the air. How far would Vito go? And would Elena's courage be enough to protect her family when the consequences came knocking? The bar had returned to its familiar rhythm, or at least it seemed that way on the surface. Music played, glasses clinked, and patrons laughed. Yet beneath the everyday noise, an undercurrent of tension lingered, subtle but undeniable. Elena knew things had changed forever. The revelation about her mother Rosa's ring, the confrontation with Vito, and the danger that had hovered over every moment had shifted her world irreversibly. The days that followed were a mixture of cautious normalcy and quiet vigilance. Vito's presence remained a looming shadow, though his demeanor had softened ever so slightly. He had made it clear that Elena's courage had earned her a measure of respect, but the power he wielded in the city was absolute. Every interaction with him reminded her that she was no longer just a waitress. She was part of a story far bigger than herself, and survival required awareness, wit, and unshakable nerve. Marco stayed by her side, a steadfast ally through every tense moment. The bond between them had deepened, forged in the fires of fear and adrenaline. He had seen Elena at her most vulnerable and at her most brave, and in both he recognized a strength that few possessed. Together they kept the bar running, maintaining the illusion of ordinary life while navigating the currents of danger swirling just below the surface. Rosa, too, had changed. When Elena returned home after her shift, the apartment that once felt safe now carried the weight of unspoken histories. Yet Rosa's presence was grounding. She listened as Elena recounted every tense moment, every subtle glance, every word from Vito that had tested her resolve. And in that retelling, Rosa's eyes shone, not with fear, but with pride. She knew the world Elena was facing was perilous, but she also knew that courage ran through their family, that their legacy was one of survival, resilience, and intelligence. The bar, once merely a workplace, had become a symbol of that resilience. Each shift, each interaction with patrons, each subtle maneuver to keep danger at bay was a reminder of the stakes. Elena had learned to navigate Vito's presence, to anticipate his moods, and to hold her ground without provoking unnecessary attention. She had discovered that courage was not about reckless confrontation. It was about calculated strength, awareness, and the ability to protect those you love while surviving a dangerous world. Vito, for his part, had altered too, but in ways that were less visible. His respect for Elena was quiet, almost imperceptible but tangible. He had seen her courage, her willingness to stand in the storm, and it had changed his perception. He treated her differently now, acknowledging her presence without the cold menace that had once defined every encounter. It was a dangerous truce, unspoken but understood. Elena had proven herself, and in doing so, had earned a sliver of safety in a world where few were spared. The long-term consequences rippled outward. Patrons who had once feared Vito began to understand the subtle hierarchy within the bar, the unspoken respect Elena commanded, and the quiet power of courage and intelligence. Marco, Elena, and Rosa had all learned lessons that went beyond survival. They had learned the value of trust, the weight of secrets, and the necessity of strength when facing forces far beyond ordinary comprehension. Elena herself had grown in ways she could never have anticipated. The slip of words that had revealed Rosa's connection to Vito had initiated a series of events that tested her every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of bravery. She had emerged from the crucible stronger, sharper, and more aware of the delicate balance between power, danger, and integrity. Where fear had once ruled, courage now tempered her actions. Where uncertainty had paralyzed, awareness guided her decisions. Rosa's lesson had been clear all along. Life is unpredictable, dangerous and often unfair, but with intelligence, vigilance, and courage, it can be navigated. Elena now embodied that wisdom, translating it into her actions, her decisions, and her interactions with Vito, Marco, and every patron who entered the bar. The final nights at the bar became almost ordinary again. But ordinary in this world carried a different meaning. Each day was lived with a heightened awareness, a recognition that life's fragility demanded respect. Elena moved with quiet confidence, her hands steady, her gaze sharp, her presence commanding subtle acknowledgement. Marco continued to watch her back, a silent pillar of support, while Rosa's lessons echoed in every cautious step Elena took. The moral takeaway of the ordeal became undeniable. Courage can survive even the most dangerous circumstances, but it must be paired with intelligence, vigilance, and the willingness to face fear without hesitation. Secrets have power, and revealing them can either ignite chaos or forge alliances, but navigating that balance requires careful judgment. Most importantly, family, trust, and loyalty are shields that no danger can fully penetrate if wielded wisely. Vito's role in this resolution was complex. He remained a figure of power, a presence that could inspire fear or respect, yet he had been forced to acknowledge Elena's strength. That acknowledgement created a subtle shift in the ecosystem of the bar and in the city itself. The young waitress who had accidentally exposed a dangerous secret had also proved that courage and composure could influence even the most untouchable individuals. In the quiet moments, long after the patrons had gone and the bar lights dimmed, Elena reflected on everything that had happened. She thought of her mother's ring, the chain of events it had triggered, and the personal strength it had revealed within herself. She realized that her life had changed irrevocably, not because danger had disappeared, but because she had learned to face it without flinching, to survive without surrendering, and to claim agency in a world ruled by power and fear. By the end, the bar was not just a place of work, it was a testament to survival, courage, and the strength of family bonds. Marco, loyal and steady, remained her protector and friend. Rosa, wise and proud, remained her guide. And Vito, ever powerful and calculating, remained a reminder that danger could be acknowledged and respected, but not feared into inaction. The storm had passed, but the lessons remained. Elena had learned that life would always carry risks, secrets, and threats, but it also carried opportunities for bravery, for defiance, and for growth. Courage could not erase danger, but it could give the strength to stand firm in its presence. Fear could not dictate action if intelligence and resolve were applied. And in the end, love, family, and loyalty could create a sanctuary, even amid chaos. The bar lights dimmed for the night. Elena locked the doors, her hands brushing over her mother's ring in quiet remembrance. She breathed deeply, feeling the weight of the past weeks, the tension of the confrontation, and the knowledge that she had survived. A storm had passed, but the fire it had ignited within her would never fade. She had faced the most dangerous man she had ever known, uncovered secrets, and survived. And she understood something profound: courage, intelligence, and family were more powerful than any fear, any threat, any man, even a Mafia boss like Vito Romano. As she stepped into the quiet night, the city lights reflecting on wet streets, Elena knew this was only the beginning. She had survived, she had learned, and she would never allow herself to be powerless again.